Hi guys, what's going on and welcome back to another episode of Total War Arena. So a little bit different today. I've not pulled these elephants out for a while and I thought we'd take a look, and I just kind of wanted to see, are elephants sort of still relevant or still effective in sort of the current meta. So if you've been playing this game for a while and you can remember back to when Carthage was first introduced as a faction, elephants came in and were frankly massively overpowered. They had significantly more body armor than they do now, which made them even harder to kill. They were also faster, and they could also cap at the speed of light, so it made them very hard to counter. You know, elephants are really kind of the dominant force. And kind of the counters that were true to elephants then are still kind of true now, but some things have become more effective against them. So at the time, pikemen and javelins were the two main counters, but on top of that, heavy and light artillery were also relatively effective, and archers could do a little bit. So sort of since then, archers are now significantly more effective, at least from the rear, in causing damage to elephants. That's one sort of good change that's been made. And much more things like Vengeance Roman infantry can be a bit more effective, and to some extent the Carthaginian infantry with Hannibal can also be kind of effective if you can get an Portus off while fighting the elephants. So it has kind of changed that in a reasonable amount, but obviously one of the main original counters still being pikemen. And one big change that has happened, obviously recently with the last 3.1.13 patch, is the fact that pikemen have had fatigue added to themselves, which means they're not kind of quite the lightsabers on sticks that they once were, and it opens or sort of begs the question of how effective are they still going to be against elephants? And does the fact that that as one of the main counters dropped off mean that elephants have sort of had a bit of an unintended buff? And yeah, quite possibly. So we're going to hop into a game and just have a sort of bit of a look at that, whether we find any pikes or not, or just sort of see if elephants are still sort of really dominant in the game. I don't really know. So yeah, let's hop into a game and just sort of see how we get on. So we are loading into Capua with our elephants. I guess it's going to make more sense for us to go into the city, I think, isn't it really, than out into the countryside. Obviously we're going to get the benefits of the roads and stuff like that, and we absolutely fastidiously want to be avoiding these trees, because trees are the absolute natural nemesis of elephants. You get like a 40% movement speed modifier, combined with the fact you actually collide with the trees. It just means you end up basically going nowhere, and you lose a lot of your stats as well. So yeah, really avoid trees at all costs with elephants. Get our force march up. I guess we'll make a bit of an aggressive start, see sort of what we see. Looks like we've got some friendly infantry moving up and stuff here. There's some tier 5s kicking around, so probably top tier I'm going to guess. So let's see if we can sort of throw our weight around a little bit. Got to be careful for, obviously, javelins in particular are kind of a threat to us. I don't know if we're going to have any. There's some Britannicus and some Principes here. They're probably both Germanicus. They are, so they're going to both have all their full access to their vengeance at the moment, so we've got to consider that. Quite a lot of stuff around there. Let's see if we can sort of start to maybe pressure some of these guys, at least drive them off the field by the looks of it. Seem reluctant to fight. They unfortunately just made the slight collision modifier error. We're still going to get caught, and even a few trees are the natural foes of me as I'm getting bumped into them all the time. I think that's just the enemy peelers that are throwing those. Let's go for Stampede. We might clip the back of this unit. At least slightly. Let's get some damage on them as they try and make a run for it. Go for a stomp, why not? Cause them a bit of pain. If they go, as soon as they go for a vengeance, I'm going to pull out. Obviously, I'm not prepared to stick around with the vengeance on. So, time to go. Basically, that's a double vengeance pop. I'll take that as my cue to leave. So, let's pull out of that fight. 2,000, we only took like 1,000 damage. Obviously, the javelins caused us a little bit more damage. Watch out for the heavy infantry charge, because that will cause us like a knockback effect. We're going to get hit by the peelers. Ow. Hurts a little bit, but we can live with that. Ow. Hurts a little bit. So let's push around the corner. We did a bit of damage to them, nothing major. Let's have a look against this hoplite phalanx then, see if we can do anything much here. I don't know if I'm expecting much. I accidentally clicked that one far too early. I should have just done with the other ones. Let's go for an Portus. Why not? You know, if they look like they're choosing to fight, I will take that fight. We can start to up our damage now, something chronic. Start to rack up some damage pretty quickly. Our friendly infantry have moved in and taken care of that sort of threat down there. I'm seeing nothing that's really a threat to me so far that I'm worried about. We're going to get our stomp back. Put it on 2. We can have a stomp as well. Absolutely. But apply some pressure. Basically destroying these 2 units, no losses on my own. I can probably turn my force march off, although to be honest in this sort of situation it doesn't make a tremendous amount of difference. If I was chasing a unit I'd probably leave that force march on unless I was being shot by some archers, in which case obviously it does lower your missile block chance. So yeah, it didn't really go very well for those, and they were a tier 6 unit. It's a quite important unit. And that's still kind of why, in certain situations, these elephants can be so dominant because, you know, we just got 1,000 aggression, slaughtered these guys, and there wasn't anything they could do. I'm not playing particularly well, I'm playing fairly lazily. I should be activating my charges and stuff individually rather than all as one. But it makes it easier for me if I don't. Oops, let's just keep going here before our archers end up getting caught in these foot companions if they're not careful. Go for a roar in case we can maybe get a rout on one of these. Take them down to 2 hit points. Not quite enough to get rid of them to wrap. But let's push on. Because I don't really want to be chasing these the rest of the game. And I think our archers can probably deal with 1 or 2 people. So what's the situation around here? Are all these guys in vengeance? I think they are. I think that maybe pushing a bit too much of a melee for us to get involved in. Let's just have a bit of a look, skirt around the outside. A tentative glance into this fight. Let's go for a stomp and get a bit of knockdown. Not even that much knockdown, really. That's rather disappointing. You just don't really want to be going deep into the fight because obviously there's quite a bit of vengeance going on here. I've got to be a bit careful about this. Careful, my elephant friends. Don't go too deep. Focus on these elephants. Are these still full vengeance? They're not vengeance, I'm less worried, like these guys, because I feel I can probably throw my weight around enough. Let's go for an ab portus then. And obviously the benefit of a slow cooldown is this. Let's go for stompers and try and run. We're going to mostly get away from that by the looks of it. But we still, even just in that couple of split seconds, have caused 20, 30,000 damage. Keep our force march on them. We'll get a kill there just so we can keep the combat flag modifier. Are they still in vengeance? These are now still in vengeance. You'll see how much more rapidly their damage starts to build up against us. But with our existing inventory, with the stomps and stuff, the fact that all 3 elephants concentrated here at once, it's probably enough to overwhelm what they've got. It's not a massive problem for us. Let's turn our force march on to keep our damage up. And you can see we're now racking up pretty significant amounts of damage. Without really risking ourselves. So if you don't get a counter, you know, the fact that probably less people are now even playing pikes with the changes that they've made, then elephants can really be still so dominant in this sort of situation. And they really can. I mean, that poor guy just lost both of his units. So let's get our force march back on. These archers are well in trouble. It's hard for me to deal with cavalry. I'm not the most effective cavalry counter, to be honest.
Decisive action.
We can try and apply a little bit of pressure to these cavalry. Hard for us to do much. To be honest, probably the best thing I can actually do is cause a knockdown on these friendly archers, because at this end the cavalry can't hit them. It's almost like a safety by being on the floor, because they can't actually get hit once they're knocked down on the floor. So almost a logic to it. But yeah, you see, we're not very effective against cavalry, but then at the same time, cavalry aren't tremendously effective against the league. Doesn't matter too much. Looks like the foot companions there are routing, which is not so good. Are they in vengeance? One of them is. Let's push on. And see if we can maybe start to pressure some of these guys a little bit here. Turn our force march off so we don't take some damage. Go for a stomp on this on the outside. Battles have been pretty strongly in our favour. I'm just keeping an eye on our base, making sure we've got too much going for our base to cap out, because so often games can be lost on the cap, and it's so frustrating when you just don't quite pay enough attention and get caught out on the decap, on the capping, you know, capping out. Isn't it annoying?
Have faith in your strength,
Let's go for that. Let's go for capping.
War requires decisive action.
Cause a bit of damage and a bit of knockdown possibly, and then we'll just cause trample if we just keep walking on them as well. We'll go for a stomp, knock a few of them down, whoosh, a couple of 1,000 damage, just keeping this damage on. This is where elephants are overpowered in this sort of situation, I think. When there's no natural counter, when the matchmaking screws the other team over, didn't give them anything really to counter. They've got a unit of pikes there at the back, look, but that pike player for whatever reason hasn't come specifically to counter me, which is obviously really what it should have done, particularly the amount of damage I've managed to get in this game. Then the other guys have a bit of a hard time dealing with it. Particularly if I play semi-reasonably, i.e. avoid anything that's a really massive threat to me, don't get too caught up into a vengeance with individual units and stuff like that, then I can really quite dominate. In many ways, it's a shame that this pike phalanx is doing so well, because I'd quite like to try and go and fight it, but I don't think it's going to happen. Let's still push baby onto Panzer Killer and the remains of his Principes. They've not really got a lot here that's going to be able to cap very fast, so I'm not too worried about it. Still a pretty close game, mind. But I think I'm just going to go and cap out. Because what have they got left that's running from us? Cavalry. A lot of cavalry that I can't do a lot about. Those slingers might be a problem for us, having said all that. Yeah, they might be a problem. Let's see what we can do against them. These guys here obviously are going to be losing, I think. And let's start to put pressures on these slingers, particularly if we can drive off some of this enemy cavalry as well, then we're going to be putting ourselves in a strong position. I'm just going to send my commander unit up, just to see if I can play around with the edge of this spear. And then we may be able to just see if we take any damage from it, which is kind of what I'm curious about. So let's get our guys going for these enemy slingers. I want to try and walk in front of a pike. Well, I mean, so far, they are in pike phalanx, they are. It proves that I can attack an edge of a pike and not take any damage, so it's it's supporting the theory that pikes have been fairly heavily nerfed so far.
War requires decisive action.
Oh no, then I've suddenly taken a bit more damage. I just missed the edge of that. They obviously got the full pikes in on me. So it does, perhaps not entirely wrong, but pikes still are a dominant force in the right sort of situation. Okay, that was interesting. They did manage to get quite a lot of damage against me there. Hopefully we're still going to win that fight. Maybe that was a bit rash throwing that unit away so early on when we're still not quite actually won this engagement yet. Maybe getting a little bit overconfident about our chances of victory. Throw a roar in there so we make sure this unit gets routed nicely, which it will. Let's just continue to put pressure on these guys. Go for a stomp when we can. That's going to miss, but one of them will get a hit. Try and finish off these Romans. I think we've done enough to tip the battle sufficiently in our favour. Too worried. Nothing massively left to counter some of those little bits of enemy pikes, but I think they're going to be having problems of their own very shortly. And they've only got like 4 people left alive. So let's push into their base. Come, my little elephant companions. Move forwards. So yes, I think that gives a fair demonstration of what the elephants are like and why they're still quite a dominant force. You know, it seems that in that instance that pike unit was still quite effective against us, even if it had been in combat for quite a while. What they are actually going for. Not going to do a lot with this stomp, but we'll get a little bit of damage. And we're going to be hopefully racking ourselves up a couple of little base capture points as well. The juicy points that we want right at the end. Watch out for these friendly pikes because they are... word. Don't know the word. In phalanx. That was the word. Don't want to run into and get killed by friendly fire. Looks like there's a couple of enemy slingers left alive, but I think we've got enough cavalry left. It's not going to be a problem. Looks like their Greek cavalry's going to rout. They did and lost the whole unit. That was really unfortunate for them.
Commander.
Some of these Amazighi tribesmen are still alive. Not quite got enough morale force to rout them. One of the things that people don't tend to use is this roar, you see, look. He's going to confidently wander near me. I can take him down to a morale of 2. It's actually not quite enough, but really close to being enough. You know, if he could just been that snippet less, he would have actually ended up routing. We can get, if he loses a couple of units, then he'll go down because he'll go low enough to be... Come on. Give him a flanking modifier, someone. We'll kill just one more of the units so it goes into the waving state. There we go. Okay. So, are we going to chase down these slingers? Well, we've got some cavalry to do that. I should have thought they'll be able to manage that. Can't really be asked to chase myself off into a forest. As I said earlier, cavalry, archers have a really bad time in forests of it. Not entirely sure where they think they're going. But, hey-ho. Do you think they're aware that the enemy slingers are still alive? Okay, well, I'll do it myself, I guess. Push a unit out anyway. I'll leave one in the base. I'm not quite sure what our cavalry are thinking. Right, so I'll just walk into them and catch up with them. We've got our force march on. We are quicker than them. We'll get a bit of a trample effect as well. Obviously, as soon as they run into the forest, then they'll get a lot more back out of us. Oops, it's going to be a bad stop. Or then again, not so bad. Get a bit of damage in there. Go for determination. Give us a little bit of extra attack. 4 slingers. Not a lot they can do in this sort of situation. I just slowly chase him down. We'll go for a stampede. But now we're going to go into a forest, and this is where things don't go quite so well for elephants, because you'll see as I soon end up colliding into trees left and right. Walk into a tree. And walk into more trees. Stamp on some walls and walk into a tree. So this is where they can get away from me, because there's not a lot I can do in this sort of situation. What's their morale like? Oh, 11. Oh, I'll be able to wrap them momentarily. In 7 seconds, their doom is assured. If I can keep up with them, that is. Oh no, it's longer. I've not got it back yet. Go for stampede. Wow, we've got a fairly clear run through those trees then. We're probably really good at micromanagement. You can probably get them. But come on, I'm going to get these guys soon. 5 seconds. Are we going to be in range of circle? Ah, yeah, we are. They've killed themselves now. Goodbye. We don't need to worry about them. Oops, wrong button. Those ones. People don't use raw enough. That 15 morale is not to be sniffed at, particularly units at the end of their sort of life. You can get a good amount of people routed with that, particularly like units that are trying to get decaps and stuff. They want it too close to you. Pop that raw, you've got a decent range on it. Make the most of it. Okay, and there we go. Victory is ours. So I feel that that we certainly contributed a fair chunk to that victory there, with just the vast amount of aggression points brought to the table. And on top of that, it's not only just the pure aggression points, it's the fact that it's sort of a real deterrent. 4,300 on the aggression, and the fact that we pushed off like almost an entire flank at that start of the game. It was like 6 or more units of Roman infantry in sort of full retreat trying to avoid us, and that is probably one of the main effects of elephants, is the fact that they just clear out flanks if there isn't a counter to them. Even if they don't, even if you're not actually applying damage, you're massively disrupting the enemy sort of formations on what they're planning on doing and allowing your troops to move up. And you occupy so many enemy troops by their trying to either run away from you or trying to deal with you, coming across the other side of the map as javelins to try and get you. And that's one of the main strengths of elephants, is just as a huge distractionary technique. But on top of that, when you find yourself in the right sort of situation, they're really quite brutal. And they can still apply a lot of damage. It did seem there, I was really annoyed I missed the clip, missed the little bit of seeing that pike, but that elephant still had sort of a third of its health. So obviously went down really quite quickly against those enemy pikes, even when they were still in the existing combat. So they were probably building up fatigue. So they either managed to back themselves out and maintain their fatigue, in which case they seem to obviously still be very effective against elephants. So yeah, I don't think pikes are out of the question as an elephant counter yet. It just maybe makes things a little bit more difficult if you don't manage your fatigue carefully with the pikes. So yeah, hopefully that's sort of a slightly interesting video. Are elephants still a rather powerful unit in the right circumstances? Yes, it would seem so. So yeah, hopefully vaguely interesting. If it is, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please subscribe to the channel for lots more Total War Arena content, and I shall see you all on the next video.